Hi everybody, this is Shannon with Shannon's Kitchen, and I've already done seasoning that pan, and now I'm starting with my Dutch oven because it's cast iron as well. And I'm just kind of gonna roll that oil around with with my hands. So I'm just gonna put you guys down right here for just a moment. Well, wherever I can sit you, I guess. So I'm going to take this Dutch oven, and it's not hot to the touch yet, but I'm just kind of sort of, letting it come up on the sides, seasoning, because this is where I'm going to cook my steak sauce, okay? I have everything, all my ingredients ready. I prepped before I started my video. I've already got these herbal potatoes started. I put about a third a cup of water in here, and maybe a third or fourth a cup of olive oil, my extra virgin olive oil. And I've already lightly tossed them. So what I'm probably going to add to it now, since this is getting hot, I'm just going to add it remove it from the heat. But I'm going to leave my eye on because this is the one I'm going to use to pan sear, and I'm going to move you guys over in a little bit so that you can see everything that I'm doing. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be cooking all 4 steaks in front of you on the camera. A lot of people kind of said that the first time I pan seared was 3 videos, and it takes about an hour to do. So, hour and a half or so when you pan sear steaks, when you're trying to make them, medium rare, or whatever. And also, food for thought, anytime you're grilling steaks or pan searing steaks, you always want to check this part of your hand or this part right here. Okay, so this part right here is where you're medium, like you're well done. This part here is where you're, about medium, where it's just slightly pink in the middle. Here is medium rare, and then right in here is rare. So if you touch that steak and it gives real easy, and it's been probably about 10 minutes on the grill, and you want to make sure that your meat is at 150 to 160 degrees before you pull it off, to make sure, that it's kosher to eat. And then rare, of course, is like this on this side of your hand, where it's just, it's been on there 5 minutes, maybe 10, 8 minutes at the most, and you've turned it both sides and, kicked it in its butt and it mooing at you a little bit. That's rare. And, of course, that also means that there's a little bit of blood going to be in the plate when you cut into your steak. That's rare. So, I've been cooking steak for 20-something years, and that's usually the standard PC for a cook to go by, is their hand. Just the palm or outside. And remember, the bone is well done. So, these are just little tips I like to share with you. So, what I'm going to do right now with these is I'm going to go ahead and salt them. 5 pinches. Another 5 pinches. Alright. You put my pepper on there. I can't tell you how many pinches, but you've seen what I just did. And this is what it's going to look like. But first of all, I'm going to get some herbs out of my refrigerator and put them in there. Alright, so here's the parsley that we used the week that I did the vegetable soup for you guys. The vegetable beef soup. And so I'm just tearing it off the vine. Just off the vine, a little bit at a time. Just putting it all over the top. Now, I haven't put any butter in here, but that is something I am going to add to the potatoes. I usually don't do potatoes without butter unless I just run out of butter, which I hardly ever run out of butter, but, And also something else, too. I use Real butter. Usually it looks like this. It's got everything singled off into tablespoons. And it says salted butter, sweet cream, 4 ounces, butter. And yes, I leave mine out. Me and my family are just fine. Everybody's on a kick about refrigerating butter. I haven't refrigerated my butter in years. Make about 20-something years now. But if you look at the ingredients on the box, this is Kroger brand. Salted butter, sweet cream, made with milk from cows and not treated with RBST. So, if you look at the ingredients on the box, it says pasteurized cream, salt, contains milk. Those of you that use butter in the big tubs that says Country Crock on them, or Blue Bonnet, or Imperial, read the ingredients. That's what you put in your food. This is real butter. Comes in sticks. And I think there's some out there that comes in tubs too. You know, I was like that. You had like tons of tubs that I used to use for putting my leftovers in. I guess it was that whole, oh, I'm getting 2 for the price of 1 kind of thing. Yeah, I got incredibly fat too. But no. I'm sorry, my daughter is getting her hands all in the ingredients. She loves raw mushrooms, and she just grabbed a handful, and we don't have much to cook. So, sorry about that. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and start putting more stuff in here. Like, let's see here. I'm going to put a little bit of the Kansas City in here. Okay. Just that much. So, you know, it's probably about 5 pinches. And I'm just going to drizzle them over the top. Okay, everybody can see that you're mad on YouTube. Okay, Mama's trying to cook. Now go on. Thank you. So, I'm just going to go ahead and toss this lightly. I've got my parsley in there, Italian parsley. And I'm going to go ahead and basically, I'm going to... You've already had enough mushrooms. I have to have these to cook for dinner. I'm going to give you some with your dinner that are raw. She likes her mushrooms raw, so I'll be putting some aside for her to eat so she can eat it with her food later. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this aside because it's ready for the oven. I'm going to put the oven at 400 degrees and bake it for about 15 to 20 minutes. But this is the only thing that I'm cooking in the oven tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and put this here out of the way for now. And then I'm going to move this too because I have to put the butter in front of you. All right, so I have some pans here that I'm going to show you. This one is where I'm going to be cooking the mushrooms, the sautéed mushrooms. And then this one is where I'm going to be putting this onion in later. And I'm going to be putting it in there making my steak sauce. So let me just go ahead and get this started and be right back. Okay, well, I don't know how to, I switched over from an Apple phone since last year, and these things don't have a pause button. I mean, if they do, I hadn't found it yet, so I'm just going to go ahead and start cooking because I'm already 9 minutes and 35 seconds on the camera, so on my phone. So I'm going to go ahead and start. All right, these sweet babies are called asparagus. They've been sitting in water because water keeps them fresh. Asparagus is a flower and it's a high alkaline vegetable. It goes into your body and it cleans it out of impurities. Have you ever noticed when you eat asparagus, especially if you eat it fresh like this, not in a can? I mean, if you eat it in a can, it'll make your pee stink too, but that's because it clears out your body of impurities because it's a high alkaline, high antioxidant vegetable. And you can look it up. It's cleaning everything out through your urine. That's why it makes it stink. So, food for thought there. It's always good to eat this at least once or twice a week. This and blueberries. Good for you. So I'm going to go ahead and get me a sharp knife and cut the ends off of these. I've got my rubber bands set where I want them cut. So just right above it, right here, I'm going to go ahead, add an angle, and slice. That is going in the trash because it is high fibrous and it's hard to chew even when it's cooked. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Alright, so I've gone ahead and I've already cut the bottoms off. I'm going to go ahead and remove the rest of the rubber bands and the tags and everything. And yeah, this is asparagus made from Alter. So, I mean, it's fresh produce. When I get done cooking this, it might be a little limp, but not much more. 'Cause I always like to cook my vegetables fresh. Some more tidbits of information as well that you might want to know about. If you cook vegetables from a bag or a can, they come to you and that bag is lined with microbials. And they're sitting in the freezer section at your market, anywhere that you shop. And you get them out of the bag, put them in the microwave. And what happens is when you put them in the microwave, the molecular structure, everything inside of it starts changing. And it starts heating up all the contents of inside of that bag, including the lining. And then what happens is the microbials fall onto your food that have been in that bag, keeping the food fresh while it's in transit. And, you know, the microbials stay dormant, or as you call dead, while it's in the freezer, cold. But as soon as you heat them up, everything becomes alive, drops on your food, and then you serve it to your family and eat it. And it's not good for you. Microbials are not good. Also, your cans are lined with preservatives. So something else about canned green beans, canned asparagus, something you need to notice is that they're sitting in what? Water. Water, and the vegetables already been cooked. So then you take your pot and you pour your cans of corn or green beans or succotash or, you know, mixed vegetables or whatever. And then you put your butter and your salt, pepper, and other seasonings. And then you cook it again. So, one question. Where is all the nutrients? In the pot. Because most of the time, you don't serve it up like a soup to your kids or your husband or yourself. You get a spoon that has a drain on it, holes, like that, and then you dip it in the pot and then you put it on the plate, or they dip it in the pot and put it on the plate. Where's the nutrients in that vegetable? Because it was already cooked at the factory and canned, lined with preservatives, and then sent out to the grocery store, and then you picked it up and put it in your home. And it sat on your shelf. It gives it shelf life. That's all it does. But where's the nutrients, the vitamins that these are supposed to produce for us, that we're supposed to put in our mouth, in this hole, in our face? Where's the nutrients in the pot? Because you just drained it. And yeah, it tastes good, and you can say, well, I served my family vegetables tonight, but did they get their vitamins? Crunchy, raw minerals, vegetables. It's real, people. The stuff we're putting in our bodies, not good for us. Research it. Look it up. That's what I did. And that's why I'm here. YouTube is about information. Where's the nutrients when it's already cooked before it gets to the grocery store? In a can, in a bag. And all you gotta do is microwave it, and all the microbials fall all over your food, and then you serve it to your kids. America has the highest rate in cancer in the nation, in the world. Do you know that there are some countries that won't even eat like we eat? They ban our food because it's bad for you. This is honest. It's grown, picked, put on a shelf in the produce section. It's not organic, but you can buy that too. And these cost me a couple of dollars. And this will feed my whole family tonight as a side. And anyhow, I'm one day going to talk to y'all about that, but not right now because I want to get down and ready. It's been 16 minutes. I've allotted myself 30 to 45 minutes to do this video since I don't have a pause button anymore on my phone. But, I mean, I just got this Apple phone maybe 8-9 months ago, and I'm still learning all about it. But anyhow, moving right on along. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you over here, and I'm going to show you all the fresh ingredients that we have here. This is not dehydrated garlic. These are garlic cloves. I'm going to use a whole clove to cook, to put in my pan for pan searing with butter and salt and pepper. And that's all I'm going to use to pan sear these New York strips that I'm about to put in here, because guess what? They've been sitting in this pot since last night. Last time I came on. Look at that. So good. And I just can't wait to show you. Anytime you're cooking a beef, like, or chicken, anytime you're cooking a meat like that might be hard, especially pork chops, use citrus fruit. Any kind of citrus fruit, mandarins, lemon juice. Lemon juice is usually my go-to, but this time I used mandarin juice. And you can get it in a can. Make sure it says mandarin juice, or water. And I just pour it in there, or pineapple juice. Pineapple juice usually makes it sweet, and it gives it a good flavor too. So you want to make sure that when you're cooking your steaks and stuff, and your pork chops and your chickens, that you're marinating them in a hearty citric fruit juice or citric acid, because it breaks down the molecular structure of the meat and makes it very tender. Let me show you. Your fingers just almost go through it. That meat is very, very tender. And it's going to be very tender once you've cooked it, whether you're grilling or pan searing. So I'm going to put you guys back down. All right. Now, there's been a lot of you that asking me what I mean when I say cook clean. Okay, I've been in contact with a lot of my subscribers this past week, and we worked our way from 29 when I came back all the way to 34, where we were before. And a lot of people are asking, what do you mean by eating clean? I guess you're new subscribers and have not seen my show on my channel. Eating clean is exactly what I just got done talking to you about. You're eating exactly what it says it is. Okay? Like this bottle that I'm using to prop up my phone right now. Half and half. I'm using this in the sauce with the portobello mushrooms. When you look at the ingredients, it says, you can see that, milk, cream. It says it right there on the bottom. That's eating clean. Do I feed my daughter cereal? Yes, I do. She likes cereal. She eats it for breakfast or sometimes for a snack in the afternoons when she gets out of school. This is Italian parsley. A lot of times I use a lot of seasonings, yes. But when you look at the back of the bottle, contains salt, sugar, spice, dehydrated garlic, onion, natural smoke, and lemon flavors. This is the mesquite grill I'm putting on there tonight. This is the Kansas City by Kenny's. www.kennyspices.com. We have a Buckarama that comes around, or Tinturkarama that comes around twice a year. And this is where I get my seasonings. But you can also order online. They are expensive. I'm not going to lie. They're not very expensive, but they're quality. What's in this bottle is salt, onion, garlic, black pepper, red pepper, dehydrated spices. So that's what's in here. Dehydrated natural ingredients that have been chopped up and put in the bottle. So, I mean, I know you'll see me use a lot of water in my recipes and stuff like that too. So, I've already showed you the ingredients. So I'm going to find a permanent place to put you so that I can start this cooking. All right, so that you can see me, move the steaks out the way in this tin foil. All right, now I'm going to go ahead in a silver pan. I'm not cooking these in my wrought iron tonight. And I'm going to go ahead and put these over here to the side real quick. I'm going to go get that wrought iron here in a minute. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and start pan searing those steaks. One day I will take you outside and grill for you on my grill. But this eye has been on for a while, so I'm going to go ahead and cut down this onion. What I decided to do tonight is make my marinade that I've made for you guys. In my first video, the first one I ever did here on YouTube. And I cooked it alone and then I cooled it down. So what I want to do tonight is I want to go ahead and add my ingredients into my pan, like I do with my pork chop chutneys. And I kind of want to, just use a little bit of my onions and go ahead, because this pan is probably already hot. I love that sizzle. So I'm going to take what I've already started using of one of these things of butter. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here we go. I used some of this earlier today when I made lunch for my husband. But I'm going to go ahead. This is probably about 4 tablespoons of butter. See? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 tablespoons. So about a half a stick. I'm going to go ahead and just stick it in there. And you can use that to reduce the onion in there real nicely. Okay. And how I'm going to do that also is I'm going to take some of this salt. I'm going to move my fresh parsley out of the way. And I'm just a pinch. Now, that salt will dehydrate these onions and cause them to reduce nicely in the bottom of my pan. So I'm going to take one more 5 pinches. Okay? Now, I'm going to move you a little bit closer because I feel like you're not able to see everything. Alright, this is what it looks like right now. So, you don't have to worry about forks when you're using cast iron. But you do have to use one of these because that handle is going to get mighty hot because it is, after all, iron. But what I'm doing now is I'm just using a little bit of the onions. I got me salt in there, my butter. I'm fixing to add me some more ingredients. But right now, I'm just letting that onion just reduce. Now, I want you to remember something about onions. When you're reducing onions in a pan, you want to make sure that you got it on a medium heat. You don't want to cook it on a high heat, because just like this butter will render its juices and melt into the bottom of my pan, this onions will too. That slimy stuff that you get in your fingers when you're dicing up an onion or cutting up onions, that stuff, that oils that get in your eye, make your eyes water. If you keep your onions in the refrigerator, it reduces that. That's another tip. So basically, what I'm doing now is I'm just reducing these onions to the point where they get almost completely opaque. And I'm done with this pan with these onions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish cutting up that side of the onion, because that's going to go in my pan with my mushrooms. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting those up. This, by the way, is the center. A lot of flavor in that. But you want to make sure that you turn your sautéd pan on a 6. 5 or a 6, give or take. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to go ahead and add me some olive oil. Oops. Sorry. I didn't mean one of them high-def lights that has a holder on it. But anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and reduce some onion. And I'm just pouring in there about 1/3 of a cup, just enough to, cover the bottom of the pan. Or the pot, or whatever it is you want to call it. Okay, so these onions and the butter's turning brown. Remember a long time ago I talked to you about nutty butter? You can control the taste of your butter. My butter's reduced down to a light brown. So has my onions. So there's a big old pile of sauce on the one side of my pan, and that's where I want it. So I've already turned that on. I've already added my oil. So I'm going ahead and adding my onions. I've done cut up a whole onion, except I'm leaving this. And I'm just chopping up some that's still too big. Because, you want your mushrooms to take over that pot. You don't want to put too much seasoning in your sauteed mushrooms, because you want the mushrooms to have their own flavor. So, you don't want to change how they taste. And you certainly don't want to change, or burn them or anything like that. So you want to keep everything on a medium heat. And I'm going to take this garlic clove right here. I'm going to add it right there in my sauce. And this one as well. They've all been crushed, so they're a little give. I don't want to chop them up, because remember, the more that you chop up with onions and garlics and shallots and green onions, the more seasonings that don't render in your pot. You keep the garlic whole like that and just crush it, there's going to be a lot of seasonings that render into that pot just by nature. Because that's what, that family of seasonings do. That's why I like cooking with fresh seasonings. That is the difference between regular cooking and gourmet. A lot of people have been on my channel asking, what's the difference? You go up into a gourmet restaurant and you spend, $400 on 4 people to eat. That's because everything that's in your food is freshly cut. Fresh herbs, lemon peel that's been grinded up. All these onions have been reduced perfectly. So, now that I've got my garlic in there, I'm going to go ahead. Remember, I'm not adding any Kansas City. I'm not adding any kind of mesquite grill or anything. Now, I will add some olive oil right now. And that's probably about a third, maybe not even Just enough to cover the bottom of a coffee cup. That's just a little bit. So this pan is starting to sizzle, so I'm going to stir that. And I'm fixing to drop me 3 cloves of garlic in that pan. I'm fixing to take you with me so you can see what it looks like. See? That looks good, doesn't it? Alright, now I'm going to do exactly to that pan like I did to this one. I'm fixing to add a pinch, 5 pinches of salt, and that's it. No more. Because into this pot, I will be adding Dale seasoning, cream, and Worcestershire sauce. So there's enough salt in all of that too. So, and I'm going to do all that before I add my mushrooms. I want everything to marry together and everything to reduce nicely in my pot as seasoning before I ever add the main ingredient, which is the mushrooms we're sauteing. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and take this bowl where this has been sitting. I've cut it into 4s like that. And I'm just going to open it up a little bit. I'm leaving the hinge. I know some of y'all that have been with me for a year and a half know this is what I call a hinge. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and cut the hinge off with my very, very sharp knife. Holding it together. Okay? I'll take you with me. There's oil at the bottom of the pan there. I'm going to put it in the middle. See? Now, I'm going to go ahead and take my cloves, my 2 cloves of crushed garlic. See? And just put them there. Take and cover just the top part of my onion with my olive oil. And now, my butter. And put you back down. Sorry for seeing my hand, but got a lot going on here. With my fork, you want to do about that much, which is probably 2 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to set it on top. Okay? Alright, I'm going to set this aside. Alright, now I'm going to take my pinch of salt, gather it all on top of the onion. Now, this is something that you probably don't see every day. I'm fixing to do a transfer from one pot to that one. And all it is just what I've already put in this pot. My onions, my garlic, and my olive oil. I have not added butter to this. I'm not going to do that until I put my steaks in here. Now, as you can see, I'm doing my marinade in the pot. I'm not cooking it separately tonight. But I'm going to take just a little bit of parsley. See? And I'm just going to sprinkle it in there just for flavor. Go ahead. Now, my onions are turning light brown, and that's okay. Sometimes they might even turn black, and that is okay because that means all the seasoning is in my pan. And that's what I want. This is just a shell. This is just a shell. It's holding the seasoning. I'm using the onion as a seasoning tonight. This one I'm going to be using for sautéed onion. Is also going to render juices into the bottom of this pan. And I'm going to take a little from this pan every time I, pull a steak out and put it in here to make my steak sauce, because I want the steak juices in my steak sauce to add the flavor. So good. Okay, so these are the kind of steaks that you don't need A1 sauce or any kind of steak sauce for eating because you've made your own. Okay, so I'm going to get me a spoon. Don't have to be a big spoon, just a tablespoon. And I'm just going to leave the onions in the pot. I'm just going to get me some of this flavoring on my spoon and just pour it Sometimes it's okay to do this. Just pour it on top of my onion. Okay? And that's, you know, flavor transfer. Now, right now, the butter from the heat from this is melting into my onion, and that's exactly what I want. But I haven't turned it on yet, but I will shortly. I'm having to keep a close eye on these onions and these garlic cloves that are cooking nicely over here in this pot, now that I've added my 5 pinches of salt to that. So, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add, I want to say that is probably 1/3 of a cup of Dale seasoning in the mushroom pot. And what's left of the Worcestershire, which so far is a tablespoon. This is going in the trash. Because over here, I've got a brand new bottle of Heinz Worcestershire sauce, which is just as good as what I just used. And just like the Dales, I did 1/3 of a cup. Okay? All right. So, now I'm going to turn this down because this pot is probably so hot right now that I could cook maybe a steak medium rare in it, just as it sits right now. So now I've got like 3 things going all at once, okay? In a minute, I'm going to add my potatoes into the oven on 400 degrees. So I've still got my asparagus set aside, still got my mushrooms, portobellos. Portobellos are dark. They're not white. They are a little, but they're dark, and some of them can be big, but these are the mini portobellos. So good. Now, I'm stirring that up in the pot. I'm make sure I didn't have any stragglers. I just dumped the whole thing in the pot. About to show it to you. All right. And that's what it looks like. I'm just going to fold them into the ingredients that are already marinating and marrying together at the bottom of the pot. Now, something you need to know about mushrooms is they contain water. So, the water and the mushrooms that also make the flavor is going to marry just well with the ingredients that I've put in the pot already. And it's going to be so good. But I'm going to find a place. See if you can. Well, I want you to be able to see everything. Okay. So, I got you leaned up on a glass bottle right now. So, I'm going to go ahead and take some out of here and add it in there too. And this is how I make my sauce for my steaks and my portobello mushrooms.
Hey, you guys.
Charlotte says hello.
Hold on.
So, I need you to not be right there, honey. I got to be able to get to the trash can.
And today, this is a new game.
She started a new game today.
Yes, and if y'all want to go on my channel and see my videos, click down below and put in my name, Charlotte, and you'll see my videos. Bye.
Bye. Like I think I talked to y'all last time, I told you how we're all YouTubers in this house. My husband watches a few channels on YouTube that he watches all the time. Like, sometimes I'll look around and we'll all be on YouTube or TikTok, and my daughter watches TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but and I'll notice all night long we've been sitting there watching YouTube. You know, it's kind of strange. But I'm gonna go ahead and, since those are cooking, this is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and start it now. I'm putting my onion on a 6 in my Dutch oven, but this is what it looks like in my pan that I'm pan searing in. Now, I'm going to scoop everything down to one side of the pan. This gives a little bit, now I'm leaving a little bit over here to put my steaks on. So I'm going to do 2 at a time. These are New York strips. And I'm going to go ahead now and add just a little bit of butter to the pan. A tablespoon. All right, so everything is in there. It's marrying right quite nicely. Pulling up some stuff here so for my steaks to rest on for seasoning. But the butter too is also, and mixed with the garlic, is for seasoning. And also, because when you're pan searing, you want to be able to make sure you're able to cook your steak through and through by just pouring the sauce on top of it. All right, so now my mushrooms are reducing nicely. I showed you what they look like before. Now let me show you this. There's quite a bit of juice in that pot. You can see through the steam. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab these steaks and start pan searing. You want to make sure before you do all this that you've dragged the steaks all the way through that marinade. You're going to want to keep the marinade too, because that also is going to be a base for your steak sauce. Now get ready when you do this, because it's going to have to be a lot of paying attention and watching, making sure that you have got a good, sear going on with these steaks. So you're going to take your sauce, take your pan and tilt it up, and go over the top with the sauces. Now you will get popped on your hand a little, and it feels like a bunch of stinging, but that's okay, because that's what goes into cooking. Sometimes you get burned, sometimes you don't. But with pan searing, especially in raw iron, it's a possibility, so get ready for it. But it's so worth it, because these steaks are going to be so tender and juicy and so good. Here in a minute, I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to flip it and show you what it looks like on the bottom. But right now, I'm tilting all the seasonings down at the bottom of my pan, and I'm just brushing it across the top of this steak. I'm going to add a second one as soon as this one's done. Now is the time to go ahead and add your potatoes into the oven. I'm putting them on for about 375 for now, because I don't want much heat in there, because I do want everything to cook and be ready at the same time. All right, now with my big fork, I'm going to pick up this steak and just show you what it looks like so far. And flip it. Tilt your pan down. Put everything down with the sauce. Take it, brush it over the top of the steak. Sometimes you just want to take it and just slab it on there. Right now, with the feel, this steak is close to being rare. But we like ours medium rare, so I got a little bit longer to go. Alright, now, I want to show you something. We've already turned on the onion, and everything's starting to reduce in there nicely. See the liquid at the bottom? Boiling. going to be so good because in a little while, I'm going to flip that onion upside down and let it cook like that. All right. Our mushrooms are reducing nicely and getting small. My family likes their mushrooms big, so I don't let mine cook for no more than 10 or 15 minutes in a sauce. But right now, I'm about to add my cream. You want to do about 1/3 of a cup of that as well. That's going to go into the refrigerator now. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and just pan searing, covering the steak with every bit of what I got in the pan. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and mix this all up. It's going to turn your sauce into like a light brown color. Alright. Now that I've turned this down, I'm just cooking it on a slow heat. I'm fixing to flip it again. Now there's a flan that's developing on the sides of this pan. You're going to want to scrape that into your sauce, because that's, really good stuff. It adds to the flavor. And that's also another reason why I have not trimmed off the fat on these. These are New York strips. That looks so good. There's onions and butter and all kind of seasoning that this steak is sitting in right now. But I haven't trimmed the fat off because I use the fat for tenderness. And it also adds flavor into your meat. Once it's done cooking and you've taken it off the stove, go ahead and cut the fat off and give it to your dog, throw it outside for the neighborhood cat, or, whatever you want to do with it. I'll leave mine on there for the whole duration because, fat adds the flavor. And it also, some people like to eat it. My daughter likes to eat hers, so to each his own. When I serve guests in my house, I don't cut the fat off. I leave that for them to do once it's plated up and sitting in front of them. So, also, now that I've started cooking a steak in here and there's more juices, I'm going to just take me a few spoonfuls and feed them on top of this onion. And that's my steak sauce over there. Remember that. So, anytime I pan sear steaks, I always do a steak sauce right behind it in another pot. So, I'm going to go ahead and just keep on pan searing this one. And I'm fixing to start me another pot over here next to me for this asparagus. I'm going to wait till I get a few of these steaks done because I only have 4 and there's 4 of us. And these are really thin. As a matter of fact, that's the thickest in the bunch. To give you an idea of how thin these are. So they're going to cook fast. My husband likes to pick his up like a French fry and eat it. And, yeah, but he wants it cooked as well. So, to each his own. Some like their vegetables limp. We like ours crispy. So, he's going to want to be able to eat his like with it standing up like a French fry. So, I've already gone ahead and covered this whole steak with sauce and seasonings and everything that's in this pan. I'll go ahead and stir this. And I'm removing it from the heat, y'all. You want to know why? Because these bad boys, they're done. I always like to have a taster. Now, same as our vegetables, my husband would not touch a sautéed mushroom before he met me. He eats mine every time now. But he also likes them crunchy. So that's what it looks like. They hot, y'all. Hearty. Just the right amount of salty. Just the right amount of thickness from the cream. I can't wait to serve that on top of my steak and eat it together. It's so good. Coming off the eye. Now, I'm going to turn it off. Now I'm going to turn it on to a 6, which is, you know, a little bit lower. And I'm going to leave that sitting there from my asparagus pot. So, let's see here. What's going on with this steak? Look at that. Look at all these good seasonings, y'all. There's steak flavoring in this seasoning now because that steak is also rendering its juices into the pot. And I just take a spoonful and add it. See how the onions broke down? Add some more. God, it's just like a whole mess of flavoring going on around here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and flip my steak. Now, you want the bottom part, the top part where your steak is sitting to be dry, or else it won't sear. So, you want all that goodness, except for just a little bit that it's sitting on, to float down to the bottom. Alright, now it's sitting at a 2. I'm about to turn up the heat because I'm ready for this one to be done. Alright, so just going ahead and breaking up my onion a little bit. The butter is already melted quite nicely down into the center of this onion. And I'm just moving it around in its juices a little bit. Here shortly, I'm going to take some of this onion and stick it in the mushroom. The bottom part only. See how that's seared nicely right there? Look at that. It's going in the mushrooms. And they're so hot, they're reducing it even further. But I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to slap it right here. In the mean sauce. Where it matters is cooking my steak. Seasoning my flavor in my steak. It's going to be so good. This is how it's done. You're actually cooking it like you would a fried egg. You know, sometimes when I cook fried eggs, I'll take the butter or whatever, the grease that it produces out of itself, and just feed it on top to cook the top of the yolk. You know, you have it medium. I guess people call it medium. Some people like their sunny side up. Some people like them medium. My 7-year-old daughter loves fried eggs. I'm going to cook her 2 in this pan. But after I make my steak sauce. Now, I'm going to turn this video off. And then I'm going to show you the finished product. I'll be back.